Mr. Whitmore, bad news. The company's accounts are short $300 million. I stared at the transfer record, my fingers trembling. The recipient's name glared back at me, Marcus. The one man I despised most. And the one who authorized it, was my wife, the woman I loved more than anyone, Vivian. Darling, let me explain. She stood before me, tears streaming down her face. Marcus is about to go bankrupt. I couldn't just stand by and watch him fall. Bang! I slammed my glass against the floor. Crimson wine spread like blood across the marble. Explain? Sure. I tossed a stack of photographs at her feet, shots of her slipping in and out of Marcus's office in the dead of night. Explain these to the judge. Mr. Whitmore, there's a serious anomaly in the financial statements. My assistant, Ethan, stood before me, his face grim as he handed me a file. I was mid-signature on a merger agreement. My head came up. What kind of anomaly? In the past 6 months, nearly $300 million has been funneled through multiple channels into various offshore accounts. I set the pen down and flipped through the pages. Each transfer was heavily layered, amounts varied, but all were in the tens of millions. The strangest part? The approval records all bore the vice chairman's seal. Have you traced the final destination? They all ended up in shell companies owned by Marcus. Ethan hesitated. Your wife's former first love. I raised a hand to cut him off. Marcus. The name was carved into my memory. 5 years ago, I met Vivian for the first time, at Marcus's engagement party. That night, she wore a crimson dress, yet her tears fell like shattered petals. I learned Marcus had abandoned their 7-year relationship to marry into another family for the sake of his conglomerate. I ached for her, and I was moved by her stubborn pride. At the engagement banquet, she carried a glass of champagne, forcing a smile as she offered her congratulations. But the moment she turned away, the glass slipped from her hand, shattering, and the shards sliced her palm. I was the one who took her to the hospital. You don't have to put on a brave face, I told her, handing her a tissue. She looked up at me, eyes still glistening. You're right. Why should I cry over someone so unworthy? 3 months later, we were married. She walked down the aisle in white satin, her smile radiant as spring. I gave her a wedding straight out of a fairy tale, and everyone said we were a match made in heaven. Afterward, I gave her the best of everything. I entrusted her with the company's administrative department and even agreed to let her recommended candidate take the position of chief financial officer. Even when I later learned she occasionally met with Marcus, I chose to trust her. After all, in business, the wider your network, the better. Aren't you afraid I might fall for him again? She teased me once. I wrapped my arms around her. If we don't even have that much trust, then what's the point of being married? She nestled into my chest and whispered that I was the best man in the world. Sir? Ethan's voice pulled me back to the present. Find out what Marcus's business has been up to lately. The report landed on my desk not long after. Marcus's company had been on the brink of collapse, $400 million in debt, projects stalled, employees clamoring for unpaid wages. And yet, in the last 3 months, everything had turned around. The debts were cleared, and now he was bidding on the very prize we'd been eyeing, Project Meridian. My phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. Darling, I'm meeting an important client tonight about Project Meridian. I might be home late. I stared at the text and let out a cold laugh. Get me the best private investigator you can find, I told Ethan. 3 days later, a thick investigative report landed on my desk. The photographs inside mapped out Vivian's every movement over the past 3 months. She had met with Marcus more than once in Suite 2088 of the Peninsula Hotel, each time carrying confidential files. In the latest photo, she was handing him a document envelope, emblazoned with the Project Meridian logo. His hand was wrapped warmly, intimately, around hers. That night, I sat alone in my study. Our wedding portrait stood on the desk, her smile as sweet as ever. Beside it lay the report I had just received. My phone chimed again. "Vivian, the negotiation went really well. I'll be home soon." 10 minutes later, she opened the study door and found me still at my desk. "So late, and you're still working?" she asked softly. I looked up at her, at the perfectly touched-up makeup, the faint trace of perfume that reached me as she stepped closer. The scent was from the bottle I'd given her for her birthday last month. "How did the Project Meridian meeting go?" I asked evenly. "Very well. The client is basically on board with our terms." She stepped behind me, looping her arms around my neck. I took her hand in mine, my thumb brushing over the wedding band on her finger. 5 years ago, I'd placed that ring there myself, a promise of loyalty. "Is that so? Marcus must be a stubborn client." Her hand trembled. Her body went still. I let go of her fingers and slid the investigative report across the desk toward her. "Care to explain? These photos, you recognize them, don't you?" I fanned the pages open in front of her. Suite 2088 at the Peninsula Hotel. Late-night meetings. Lingering looks. And that brown envelope stamped with the Project Meridian logo. The color drained from Vivian's face, her fingertips quivered. "Darling, let me explain." "Explain what?" I gave a short, dry laugh and pulled a financial statement from the drawer. "Explain why you used my seal to transfer $300 million. Or why you handed Marcus internal Project Meridian documents. Or maybe." I picked up her phone. "Explain these flirtatious little text messages." Her head snapped up, panic flashing in her eyes. You went through my phone." "Why wouldn't I?" I opened the thread between her and Marcus. "After all," I said, my voice flat, "this was my birthday gift to you." "Marcus is really at the end of his rope," she choked out, collapsing onto the couch as tears spilled down her cheeks. "He said if the company goes under this time, he'll have no choice but to." "But what?" I cut in with a cold laugh. "Jump off a building? Flee the country?" I walked to the safe, keyed in the combination, and pulled out a document, tossing it onto the table in front of her. "So you decided to hand him the fruits of my life's work?" Her eyes fixed on the signature scrawled across the page, and her pupils constricted. "It was a stock transfer agreement. You thought I wouldn't know? You used my seal to transfer 10% of Whitmore Enterprises to him?" "That was his condition," she blurted, panicked. "He said without shares as collateral, the bank wouldn't issue the loan. He promised, once he pulled through, he'd give them back to me." $2.7 billion, I said, enunciating each word. "For your first love, you handed him $2.7 billion. No, it's not like that." She slid off the couch and onto her knees. "Marcus swore that once his company recovered, he'd return the shares. He swore it." "Swore?" I let out a sharp, humorless sound and tapped my phone screen. Marcus's voice crackled through the speaker, smug and triumphant. "Vivian is so damn easy to fool. Adrian's such an idiot, actually letting her run the company. Once we've got those shares, we can." Click. I shut the recording off. Vivian looked as if lightning had struck her, her whole body collapsing to the floor. No, that's impossible. He said he'd give them back to me. He promised." "You really think he loves you?" I crouched down, locking my gaze on hers. "To him, you've been nothing more than a tool." "No. Marcus isn't like that. There has to be some misunderstanding." I stood, walking to the window, the city's glittering night skyline stretching out before me. "Do you know why he suddenly reached out to you?" She froze. "Because he found out I was moving forward with Project Meridian." I turned back to her. If this project succeeded, its market value would at least triple. And you handed him every piece of internal data. I opened my laptop. Look at this. On the screen was the latest contract award notice. 2 days ago, using the inside information you gave him, he underbid us by 20% and took the project. Do you understand what that means? My voice was ice. The stock price of Whitmore Enterprises will nosedive, at least half our market value gone overnight. And Marcus? He'll become rich in a single day. That kind of man, was he worth betraying me for? Vivian broke down, sobbing. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. She staggered to her feet. I'll go to him now, I'll make him give everything back. I caught her by the arm. It's too late. What? This afternoon, I said slowly, he already pledged all those shares to the bank. I let go of her hand. And he's already booked his flight. The morning after tomorrow, he'll be leaving Los Angeles for the UK, with his fiancée. Fiancée? I tossed a glossy tabloid onto the table. His engagement to the Winslow Group's heiress will be announced next week. Her head shook violently as tears streamed down her face. 2 days ago, he told me, once everything was done, he and I would. Would what? I cut in, my voice dripping with contempt. Run away together? I unlocked my phone, swiping to a photo. Here's what he was actually doing 2 days ago, his engagement photos. In the picture, Marcus had his arm around a beautiful woman, smiling as if the world belonged to him. And the best part? I went on, my tone knife sharp. They've chosen Venice for the wedding. Your favorite city. Vivian collapsed where she stood, her eyes hollow. He lied to me again. Now you realize? I walked to the desk, pulled out a document, and slid it toward her. Too late. This is our divorce agreement. Sign it. No. She lurched forward, clutching at my leg. Adrian, please, give me another chance. I'll beg Marcus, I'll get everything back. I looked down at her, my expression cold. You still don't get it, do you? He's been planning this from the start. You were nothing more than a pawn to him. That's not true. Why do you think he chose this exact moment? I cut her off. Because he knew that by next month, I'd uncover the missing funds. So he struck first, stripping away everything he could take. And you, my gaze swept over her with open disdain. You let yourself be played right into his hands. Her grip tightened, her voice breaking. I'm begging you, don't throw me out. I don't want anything, I just need you to give me one more chance. I crouched down, wiping the tears from her face. All right. A flicker of hope lit her eyes. But before that, I rose to my feet. You'll have to sign the divorce papers first. Why? I smiled, though there was a shard of ice in my gaze. Because only then can I make you, and him, pay the price without restraint. I'll sign. The sudden calm in her voice caught me off guard. She dried her tears, taking the pen from my hand. I narrowed my eyes, watching the abrupt shift in her demeanor. Wait. The pen tip was just about to touch the paper when I spoke again. Don't you want to know what's in the agreement? No need. She gave a bitter smile. It's all my fault anyway. Whatever you've written, I'll accept. I slid the papers back toward me. That won't do. Not when $27 billion is at stake. Her head snapped up. You think I'd let you walk away that easily? My voice was low, cold. Those shares you helped Marcus steal, someone has to be held accountable. What are you saying? I flipped to page 3 of the agreement. Simple. You'll repay the $27 billion. What? The blood drained from her face. You know that's impossible. Impossible? Hardly. I spoke as if it were a routine calculation. You still hold 5% of Whitmore Enterprises, don't you? It had been my wedding gift to her. And your 3 villas, worth at least $50 million combined. I kept counting. Your jewelry, antiques, art collections, that should add up to around $12 billion. As for the remaining $15 billion, I looked straight into her eyes. You'll pay it back with your time. Her brow furrowed. What do you mean? It's simple. I slid a new document across the desk toward her. Sign this non-compete agreement, I said evenly. For the next 20 years, you will not work in any industry connected to Whitmore Enterprises. You're cutting off my livelihood. I gave a cold laugh. Better than you cutting off mine to help Marcus. Absolutely not. She shot to her feet. I will never sign something like that. Then we'll take it to court. I shrugged. My lawyers have already prepared the filings, charges for embezzlement, corporate fraud, and leaking trade secrets. I let the words sink in. Tell me, with your reputation in ruins, what company would dare hire you? She collapsed back onto the couch. You've been planning this all along. What did you expect? My tone was pure derision. That I'd stumble through life trusting people like you? She bit her lip. Give me 1 day to think about it. Fine. I glanced at my watch. By this time tomorrow, I want your signature. Otherwise. I picked up my phone. These photos and recordings will be on every major news outlet. Her face drained of color. You wouldn't dare. Whitmore Enterprises stock will crash. A humorless sound escaped me. Now you care about the stock price? And besides, I added with a cold smirk, between corporate fraud and marital infidelity, I think the latter will make for a much juicier headline. She trembled from head to toe. You can't do this. Why not? I stepped closer, my voice low. When you betrayed me, did you ever once think about my feelings? Her head dropped, tears slipping down her cheeks again. Oh, by the way, I said suddenly, as if the thought had just occurred to me. I forgot to tell you something. Her head lifted, eyes wary. Marcus, I said with a thin smile, sold the shares this afternoon. What? The buyer was the Winslow Group. My tone sharpened into something almost amused. Looks like he's given his fiancée a rather extravagant wedding gift. Vivian froze, as if struck by lightning. No, that's impossible. Why impossible? I pulled up a video on my phone. Want to see the proposal? On the screen, Marcus was down on one knee, sliding a diamond ring onto Charlotte's finger. You know what's most ironic? I closed the video. He bought that $30 million ring with the money you stole for him. Vivian clapped a hand over her mouth, tears spilling uncontrollably. Stop, please, stop. Not done yet, I said, my voice cutting. He also used the stolen shares to secure a board seat at Winslow Group. And you, my eyes swept over her with open disdain, can't even get him to pick up the phone. She broke down completely, sobbing. I know I was wrong. I truly know it now. Now you know? I gave a short, cold laugh. Guess what, Vivian, do you think the Winslow Group knows where those shares came from? Her head jerked up. If the Winslow Group found out Marcus got those shares through this kind of scheme. I let the implication hang in the air. What do you think they'd do? What are you planning to do? She asked warily. I pulled out my phone. Thinking I should give Winslow Group a call, what do you think? No. She lunged for the phone, clutching at my arm. Please, don't tell them. Why not? I gave a sharp, derisive laugh. Still protecting him? I'm not. She bit her lip, her voice trembling. I'm just afraid that if Winslow Group finds out, they'll cut their losses and pull the investment. Then those shares will be gone for good. Just then, her phone chimed. A text message. She opened it with shaking hands, and the color drained from her face. I glanced at the screen. The shares are already with Winslow Group. Don't contact me again. Whatever I owe you, I'll make it up to Charlotte. And don't do anything stupid. It was from Marcus. Make it up to Charlotte, she repeated under her breath. The phone slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor. Do you know what's funny? Her lips curved into a laugh, but tears kept streaming down her cheeks. Just a moment ago, I was thinking, as long as I could save those shares, give him a chance to get back on his feet, I'd give up everything. And him? Her smile turned bitter. He won't even give me the dignity of a goodbye. I looked down at her, my voice flat. Now you see how pathetic you've been? Yes. She let out a hollow, self-mocking laugh. I've been truly pathetic. Suddenly, her phone chimed again. This time, it was a video. On the screen, Marcus stood at a private Winslow Group dinner. Charlotte, he said, raising a glass of champagne with mock romance, these shares, consider them my engagement gift to you. Charlotte leaned into his chest, feigning a pout. But I heard these shares didn't come from a clean source. Don't worry. Marcus gave a dismissive smirk. They came from nothing more than a foolish woman who handed them over willingly. Really? Charlotte tilted her head, curious. She's that stupid? Of course. His grin widened with pride. The video cut off abruptly. Vivian's whole body trembled, her face draining to chalk white. That video, I said evenly, I had it recorded. Her head snapped up. You think I'd let him walk away unscathed? A cold smile tugged at my lips. Winslow Group hasn't seen this yet. She stayed silent for a long moment, then rose to her feet. Give me an hour. For what? I need to get something. Her eyes had turned to ice. If he wants to play, then we'll play it to the end. An hour later, she came back. She walked in holding a folder. I have one condition. Go on. I want to watch him lose everything with my own eyes, she said, her voice carrying a chill that cut to the bone. Exactly the way he made me lose everything. I raised a brow. And why should I believe you? Because of this. She opened the folder. These are all the transaction records between Marcus and the Winslow Group, along with their acquisition plan for Southport Holdings. Her lips curved into a cold smile. The shares he gave Winslow Group? They're a trap. I flipped through the pages quickly. Keep talking. He's tampered with the Southport Holdings acquisition plan, she went on. The moment Winslow Group steps in, they'll walk right into his snare. So, she said, locking her gaze with mine, I'm staying. I'll destroy his plan myself. I studied her. Are you sure? I'm not asking you to trust me. Her eyes were unwavering, sharp with resolve. I'm asking you to give me one chance, to push him into hell with my own hands. I was silent for a moment, then pulled out a new set of papers. These are the new terms. I slid the agreement across the desk toward her. Read it carefully. Vivian's eyes moved quickly over the pages. Business consultant? That's right. My tone was cold. From this day forward, you'll remain at Whitmore Enterprises, as a consultant. But remember, you're nothing more than a tool. I understand. And one more thing, I added, if I catch even the slightest hint of double dealing. No need to threaten me, she cut in, her gaze like ice. I want to see him fall even more than you do. I gave a short, skeptical laugh. Is that so? You know what he plans to do to Winslow Group? She asked suddenly. Enlighten me. She pulled a proposal from the folder and spread it open. Southport Holdings looks like a prize on the surface, but it's nothing more than an empty shell, she said. Marcus has tampered with it in all the right places. Once Winslow Group completes the acquisition, they'll realize they bought a rotten carcass. And then? Then he'll swoop in and buy Southport Holdings from them for next to nothing, she continued with a cold smile. And use that leverage to force Winslow Group into handing him their shares of Whitmore Enterprises. My eyes narrowed. You're saying? That's right. She nodded. His true target has never been Winslow Group. It's always been Whitmore Enterprises. Interesting. I leaned back in my chair. So you're saving Winslow Group now? No. Her eyes sharpened to a blade's edge. I'm going to make him feel what it's like to hit rock bottom. I fixed my gaze on her. How? Simple, she said, pulling out a set of papers. This is Southport Holdings' real financial statement, and the falsified version he created. All Winslow Group has to do is compare the two, and they'll see they've been conned. I gave a low, skeptical laugh. That's it? Of course not. Her lips curved into a razor-edged smile. Tomorrow is their engagement party. Every heavyweight in the business world will be there. And I'm going to expose him for what he really is, in front of all of them. You're not afraid Winslow Group will turn their anger on you? I asked. Why would I be? She let out a bitter laugh. I have nothing left to lose. But he, her eyes darkened with hatred. He still has his reputation, his status, Winslow Group's trust. I see. I leaned back slightly. So you plan to unmask him at the engagement party? Exactly, she cut in. I want everyone to know exactly what kind of man he is. Interesting. I rose from my seat. Then I'll give you that chance. Walking to the safe, I retrieved a sleek ivory envelope. Tomorrow's engagement party, we'll attend together. She blinked. We? As president of Whitmore Enterprises and my chief consultant, I said with deliberate weight, of course we have to congratulate the happy couple. And besides, my gaze dropped to the embossed address on the card, it's being held at the Peninsula Hotel. I looked up at her, letting the pause sharpen into a blade. The very same 2088 suite where you used to meet Marcus. A cold smile cut across my face. What a coincidence. Vivian's expression tightened. You planned this? Of course, I said. I stepped up to her. I want him to see that you're standing with me now. Her eyes narrowed as realization struck. You want to throw him off balance. Smart. A faint smirk tugged at my lips. Only when a man's rattled does he start making mistakes. She was silent for a beat. You've been planning this all along, haven't you? What do you think? My laugh was cold. Did you imagine I'd be as naive as you? I reached into my pocket and pulled out a flash drive. On here, you'll find every shred of evidence linking you to Marcus. If you try anything, I said, holding her gaze, I'll make sure you go down harder than he ever will. No need to threaten me. She took the drive without flinching. I told you, I want to see him fall even more than you do. Good. I checked my watch. 7 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll pick you up. Wait. She stopped me just as I turned toward the door. Why me? You could easily expose him yourself. I glanced back at her, my voice deliberate. Because being betrayed is a feeling that's hard to forget, isn't it? Her lips curved into a bitter smile. You're right. Then it's settled. I moved to leave the study. Adrian. I paused. What now? Thank you for giving me this chance, she said quietly. Without turning around, I walked out. Don't thank me. Tomorrow night's engagement party was going to be unforgettable. The Peninsula Hotel blazed with light. I stood before the mirror, straightening my tie, catching Vivian's reflection behind me. Ready? She was dressed in a sleek black evening gown, makeup flawless yet edged with frost. Ready. Remember, I said, turning to face her, all you need to do tonight is hand that file to the Winslow Group after I speak. I know. She nodded. But are you sure they'll believe it? A slow smile tugged at my lips. Whether they believe it or not, they'll have no choice. From my pocket, I produced a flash drive. This holds more than just proof of his falsified accounts. Her brow furrowed. What else? You'll see soon enough. The elevator chimed at the 20th floor. The ballroom shimmered with intersecting beams of light. Marcus and Charlotte stood at the entrance, greeting guests. When they saw us, Marcus froze for a fraction of a second. Mr. Whitmore. He recovered quickly, extending a hand. Didn't expect to see you here. I clasped his hand firmly. How could I miss it? This is your big day. My eyes drifted meaningfully to his wrist. Rolex's latest model? Nice. He withdrew his hand a little too quickly. An engagement gift from Winslow Group. Is that so? My smile sharpened. Funny, I thought it was paid for with Whitmore Enterprises shares. His expression flickered. What's that supposed to mean, Mr. Whitmore? Nothing. I patted his shoulder lightly. Just a reminder, some things ought to have a clean origin. I turned to Charlotte with a cordial smile. Miss Winslow, congratulations. Still holding Marcus's arm, she gave a slightly uneasy smile. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. Oh, and one more thing, I said as if it had just occurred to me. This is Vivian, she's now a consultant at our company. Marcus's pupils constricted in an instant. Charlotte, oblivious, said warmly, hello. Vivian inclined her head with practiced grace. Hello. Her gaze drifted over Marcus's watch. It is a fine timepiece. His hand trembled. We walked into the ballroom, but Marcus quickly followed. Vivian. Marcus. Charlotte's voice cut in from behind him. There are other guests to greet. He hesitated, jaw tight, before turning back to his post. Nervous? I asked, catching the pale cast to Vivian's face. She drew a deep breath. No. Good. I glanced at my watch. 20 minutes until the Winslow Group arrives. She nodded. I'll freshen my makeup. As she walked toward the restroom, I pulled out my phone. Do it. Moments later, the massive screen in the ballroom flickered. A video began to play, surveillance footage from Suite 2088. On screen, Marcus sat across from a woman, speaking in low, conspiratorial tones. Winslow Group's already taken the bait. Once they acquire Southport Holdings, they'll find it's riddled with holes. Then I can buy it back for next to nothing, he went on. And use it to pressure them into handing me Whitmore Enterprises shares. And Charlotte? The woman asked. A cold smirk crossed his face. Just another foolish woman. Once I control Whitmore Enterprises, she's of no use to me. The video cut to black. The ballroom erupted into chaos. What is this? Charlotte stood frozen, her face ashen. Charlotte, let me explain, Marcus stammered, panic creeping into his voice. Explain what? A deep, authoritative voice cut through the noise. Charlotte's father, Richard Winslow, stepped into the room. Dad! Charlotte rushed into his arms. Marcus straightened his shoulders, trying for composure. This is all fake, someone's framing me. Fake? I stepped forward, a cold smile tugging at my lips. Then what about this? The screen lit up again, this time, with a different video. Marcus sat across from Vivian. As long as you help me get Whitmore Enterprises shares, I'll call off my engagement to Charlotte. You swear? Vivian's voice. I swear, he replied. Clip after clip played, peeling away the last shred of his facade. And this, I held up the flash drive. Southport Holdings' real financial statements, and the falsified version he's been passing off. Richard took the drive, his expression dark as storm clouds. Check this. Within minutes, his assistant returned with a laptop. Mr. Winslow, it's true. Southport Holdings is nothing but an empty shell. You bastard. Richard's voice thundered across the hall. Security. Throw this fraud out. Wait. Marcus blurted, desperation cracking through. I can explain. Explain? Richard's laugh was ice cold. What is there left to explain? Call the police. No. Marcus's eyes darted to Vivian, wild and accusing. It was you. You told them. Vivian met his gaze, her tone glacial. Sorry. I'm now chief consultant for Whitmore Enterprises. Exposing corporate fraud for my CEO is my job. Marcus's face twisted with rage. You bitch. He lunged at Vivian, hand raised. I yanked her behind me, my voice cutting through the air. Security, did this man just try to assault an executive of our company? The guards moved instantly, seizing Marcus by both arms. Let me go, he roared, thrashing. Richard, listen to me. Richard didn't spare him a glance. Take him away. And, I added evenly, make sure all evidence of his corporate fraud is turned over to the police. As Marcus was dragged toward the doors, Charlotte's tear-streaked face lifted. Why? Why would you do this to me? Vivian stepped forward, her voice steady. Because he was never sincere with you. Just as, 5 years ago, he threw me aside for profit. Charlotte's eyes widened. You're? Yes. Vivian gave a bitter smile. I'm the foolish woman who toasted him at his engagement party 5 years ago. Her voice softened. Better to wake up now than spend a lifetime being lied to. Charlotte broke down, sobbing. Richard exhaled heavily. Mr. Whitmore, my thanks for tonight. I waved it off. No need. But, I fixed him with a pointed look. Those shares. I understand, Richard said with a nod. Tomorrow, I'll have my lawyers handle the paperwork and return them to Whitmore Enterprises. In that case, I said quietly, much appreciated. Watching the Winslow Group entourage leave, Vivian suddenly asked, You knew all along he was planning to swindle them? Of course. I gave a cold laugh. Did you think I'd let him off that easily? She was quiet for a moment. So I was just another piece in your game? That's right. I met her gaze head-on. The same way you once treated me as a piece on your board. A bitter smile tugged at her lips. You win. No. I turned toward the exit. This is only the beginning. What do you mean? I stopped. It's about to be your turn. What do you mean, my turn? In the car on the way back, Vivian's voice trembled. I kept my focus on the road and didn't answer. Adrian. She bit her lip. What are you planning? Back to the company, I said flatly. There's one more act to play. The Whitmore Enterprises tower blazed with light in the dead of night. Every board member was present. Mr. Whitmore, one of them asked, why call an emergency board meeting at this hour? I swept my gaze across the room, letting it settle on Vivian last. Because there's important business. The projector hummed to life, and page after page lit up the big screen. This is. One director sucked in a sharp breath. That's right, I said, rising to my feet. This is the detailed record of company fund transfers over the last 6 months. I turned to Vivian. Ms. Vivian, care to explain? Her face went bloodless. What are you implying? Don't pretend, I said coldly. I let out a cold laugh. Marcus was nothing more than a decoy. The real mastermind is you. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. That's impossible. Vivian shot to her feet. It was Marcus, you know it was. Is that so? I cut her off and hit play on an audio file. Vivian, you really are clever. Marcus's voice oozed from the speakers. Using our history to make Adrian suspicious of me, no one would ever suspect you. Too bad. A cold chuckle. You overlooked one thing. Did you really think I'd ever trust you? His tone turned scornful. The moment you betrayed Adrian, you should have known this day would come. The recording cut off. Vivian collapsed back into her chair. That's fake. Fake? I clicked to the next slide, pulling up a new set of documents. Then what about this? When you were siphoning company funds, you kept 10% aside each time, transferring it to an offshore account. And the account's actual controlling party. I let the pause stretch until the silence in the room was absolute. Wasn't Marcus. 100%. You. The boardroom went still, the air thick as lead. You knew all along? Her voice was a whisper, disbelieving. From the very start. I met her eyes with a cold smile. Did you think I'd swallow your revenge story so easily? So everything tonight, her voice broke, was for show? Exactly. I didn't let her finish. Just a performance for the Winslow Group. That way, I could remove Marcus cleanly, my tone sharpened like a blade. And then deal with you. Now, I said, my voice low and deliberate, it's simply your turn. Why? She murmured the word like she was trying to make sense of it. Why are you doing this to me? Why? I stepped closer until I was standing directly in front of her. Because your betrayal was never about Marcus. It was about you. Her head snapped up. You used Marcus to make me believe you'd been manipulated by him, I continued, my tone like steel. But the truth is, you were the one pulling the strings all along. What you wanted was never him. I pronounced each word with precision. It was the control of Whitmore Enterprises. Her composure cracked. Yes. You're right. I wanted control. I gave so much, why shouldn't I be in charge? Her voice rose to a near scream. Why not? Is it because I'm a woman? No, I said coldly, my eyes locking onto hers. It's because you're not worthy. Guards. I gave a flick of my hand. Take her to the police. Wait. She laughed suddenly, the sound sharp and brittle. You think this is over? You forgot something. From her bag, she pulled out a document. That original share transfer agreement? It has your signature on it. Even if I go to prison, Whitmore Enterprises will collapse under the scandal. I chuckled lightly. Is that so? Stepping forward, I pulled a different document from my jacket. Take a look at this. She snatched it from my hand, and her pupils constricted instantly. It was a handwriting analysis report. No, that's impossible. Nothing's impossible, I said, my voice like ice. Did you really think I'd give you genuine authorization? Every one of those signatures was forged. And you. I enunciated each word. Are already guilty of major economic crimes. Her body seemed to lose all strength. It's over. Everything's over. I looked down at her from above. This is exactly the ending you earned. Adrian, she looked up at me, tears spilling over. We were husband and wife. Husband and wife? A cold laugh left my lips. The moment you chose to betray me, we were finished. The police entered, snapping the handcuffs around her wrists. Adrian, she called out, twisting to look at me. You'll regret this. I turned toward the window, my voice flat. The only thing I regret is being blind enough to marry you in the first place. As she was let out, the directors' voices rose around me. "Mr. Whitmore, brilliant as always." "Meeting adjourned," I said evenly. "Tomorrow, Whitmore Enterprises begins anew."